But anyway, joining me on the FanDuel hotline right now, he is from Fantasy Sharks every Thursday night when it comes to fantasy football. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my good friend Mr. Walton Spurlin to the program. Welcome, Walton, and how are you doing?
I am doing great. I know I say this every week, but I'm going to say it again. I can't believe how fast the season's going by, as you just mentioned. We're looking at week 6 already. Seems like the off season takes forever, and then the season just flies by. So I'm always excited to be on your show and talk some fantasy football. I just watched the middle school football, kind of an appetizer before tonight's Chargers Broncos game. So I'm ready to roll.
Well, at least there's a baseball game. So if the Thursday night football game is not that well, then I can turn to a baseball game. So God knows what, especially with Thursday night football, which I'm not a favorite of.
I'm there with you. I do not like this every Thursday night schedule thing they have going on. I've talked about it in the past. I don't think it's fair to the players. The games are rarely that exciting to watch. So maybe this being a division matchup, a couple of teams that know each other well, maybe we'll get a barn burner. But I'm not holding my breath.
Exactly. So, like I said, tonight's game, it is the Denver Broncos and the San Diego Chargers. Now, both teams coming off that loss, including the San Diego Chargers, because they blew that fourth quarter lead, just like, and since the NFL era, Super Bowl era, San Diego Chargers is the most team that gives away a lot of fourth quarter leads, again, especially when they played against the Oakland Raiders. And then the Denver Broncos, they didn't do so well, but I got to give Atlanta Falcons some credit because that's the team that's really surprised me this year because many people thought the Carolina Panthers was going to win that. So what do you look for tonight's game between Denver and San Diego tonight?
Yeah, I think it's like I said, I hope for a really good game. These teams know each other. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring. Denver has been holding quarterbacks pretty well in check. No quarterback has thrown for 2 passes in a game against Denver yet this year. And if you look at how Phillip Rivers did against him in the 2 games last year, he averaged just 215 passing yards, and he threw 2 touchdowns against 2 interceptions. So so they're going to have to throw, I think, because they're going to fall behind. But I just don't know how well they're going to be able to. So I'm not that high on the wide receivers for San Diego this week, Travis Benjamin or Terrell Williams or maybe Dontrell Inman. Antonio Gates, he generally seems to find the end zone. Rivers looks for him there. I'm interested to see what Melvin Gordon can do. I think you start him if you have him because up until last week, Denver had been handling running backs really well, and then the combination of Devonta Freeman and Tim Coleman put up over 200 yards on him. Coleman, I think, had 130 receiving. So we might see a little more Melvin Gordon in the pass-catching mode tonight. So, I like Melvin Gordon. He's probably, if I have other options, he might be the only Charger I would start. Maybe with Gates, but Gates is 36. It's a short week. He just came back last week, only played 18 snaps with a hamstring injury. Did catch a touchdown, so I'm high on Gordon. The rest of the Chargers, I'm kind of meh. Denver, they're going to have Trevor Siemian back tonight after Paxton Lynch did not do well last week. Again, he's somebody that, the Chargers have picked off 7 passes. So, their secondary can do some damage. So, they won't have Jason Verrett. So, that helps Simeon. But I'm not super high on him. But who I am really high on, you got to start Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. They're probably one of your top wide receiving prospects on your team. But I think it was a really good night to make sure you roll out C.J. Anderson and the Broncos. The Chargers are one of the most generous teams as far as giving up touchdowns. They've given up 7 rushing touchdowns to running backs, and they've given up 2 receiving. So I think who would like to go with there is definitely C.J. Anderson and your 2 wide receivers. Chances are, if you have Trevor Siemian, you have another quarterback that you'll be starting. So I just hope for a good game, Shawn, because like we've touched on, these Thursday night games, there's not been that many that are entertaining.
Exactly, especially the Monday Night Football that just passed. I didn't even watch that game till like the 3rd quarter. I'm surprised it was 14-14.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no Cam Newton. It was the Jacquizz Rodgers show. What did he end up with, like 30 carries? It's the last time he'll see that, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm hoping for a good one tonight, though.
Yeah, especially since I'm like under 500 on my fantasy team. But what the hell? It's early though. There is a big news, by the way, this week. Colin Kaepernick will start for the first time for this season. So the San Francisco 49ers play against the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Buffalo Bills, surprisingly, they're 3-2 because nobody ever thought they'd be 3-2. Because I thought Rex Ryan was more likely to get fired. Because I already said about Rex Ryan, he's more of an assistant coach than he is as a head coach. And what I noticed about the 49ers is this. We already know, like, if they play at a home, they play better. But when they're on the road, they play like flat terrible. So, how bad do you think that, do you think the San Francisco 49ers will get a butt whooping from the Bills, do you think?
I think this is a tough week for Kaepernick to make his first start because, as you mentioned, the Bills are playing really well, and they've been playing of late. I think they've run off as a 3 in a row. Since we were all thinking Rex was gone. They're going to be able to run the ball with Sean McCoy. Their defense has only allowed 2 passing touchdowns. The quarterback so far with 6 interceptions. So, and there's reports that Kaepernick, it is not as heavy as he used to be, that he'd lost some weight this season. So we don't know if he's going to be able to tuck and run the ball, if that's even going to be, if Chip Kelly's going to, we know his high up-tempo offense. Honestly, this is the only 49er I trust will roll out on a weekly basis is Carlos Hyde, and I would do that again this week. And again, as far as Buffalo, obviously Shady McCoy, he's great last week. We get him in there. As far as their wide receivers, they worry me. Depending on what your tight end options are, Charles Clay maybe, and then Tyrod Taylor. I start because again they're at home, San Francisco, flying across the time zones. They're like a morning game for them in Buffalo. So yeah, I think I'm interested to see what Kaepernick looks like. He's got to be rusty, but he can't be any worse than Gabbert. So, but again, I definitely don't start him this week. There's only 2 teams on a bye, and that's the quarterback Jameis Winston and Sam Bradford. So chances are there's plenty of better options to go out there and get. So again, like I said, I love Sean McCoy, Tyrod Taylor, Carlos Hyde. And after that, something to keep an eye on is Kaepernick's a much better deep ball thrower than Blaine Gabbert. So let's see if he can finally get maybe some kind of connection going with Torrey Smith, because Torrey Smith is wasting away out there. Or he was with Blaine Gabbert. Hopefully, let's see if Kaepernick can pair it out, see if maybe they can hook up with some deep passes. But I'm not certain that'll be this week.
Exactly. So that game will be at 1 o'clock. Fans Sharks Walton Spurlin on the program. Here's one that's more likely is not going to be so good for a team. That is the Cincinnati Bengals. And right now, this season, the Cincinnati Bengals has not been a team that went to the playoffs last season, as Cincinnati travels to New England. And, of course, New England beat Cleveland, which many people, let's be honest, we already know New England was going to beat Cleveland. But the surprising part, Tom Brady had like 400 yards. So that was the only surprising part. So last week we saw the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Cowboys. And when I look at that Cincinnati, when it comes to their rushing defense, it was like really bad. They couldn't even stop the run. They couldn't even stop the pass. And it's like, where is Andy Dalton? Because like you never know which Andy Dalton you're going to see. The Andy Dalton that's supposed to perform, or the Andy Dalton like we already know, like he doesn't come up in primetime games. But good part is it's a 1 o'clock game for him. So, and the worst part about this is this game is at New England. So this may not be a good idea that the Bengals is going to win. So more likely, I think the Bengals will more likely lose this game against New England. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shawn. It's the Cincinnati offense looks. I know AJ Green blew up a couple of weeks ago, but it's very erratic. Through 5 games, Andy Dalton only has 5 touchdown passes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So again, a couple of interceptions, but and they're traveling to New England, and you touched on I think an important stat, or how they cannot stop the run, or they could not last week. Ezekiel Elliott just shredded them, 134 yards on 15 carries. I think we're going to see quite a bit of LeGarrette Blount. Bill Belichick is great at exposing your weakness and also taking away your strength. So I think that what they're going to look to do. Jeremy Hill was banged up in last week's game. He's practicing this week for the Bengals, but he's got a chest and shoulder problem. So kind of leaves Giovanni Bernard as their go-to back, and I don't see him having a big day against that New England defense. they'll look to double A.J. Green, take him out of it. No other wide receiver for Cincinnati has really stepped up and shown that, every once in a while, Mohamed Sanu, when he was there, could have a big game. They haven't found that other person. Brandon LaFleur, a couple of garbage time touchdowns last week, but, you can't make a living on that in fantasy. So, yeah, as far as the Bengals, you start A.J. Green because you have A.J. Green. It looks like Tyler Eifert's going to miss another week. He was supposed to come back last week. He his back, to go along with the injury he was coming off of, so no Eifert. And again, though, the Patriots, again, Tom Brady's angry. That's the 400 yards, I think. I think he's going to try to do that every week. Gronk, 100 yards receiving last week. Unfortunately, all the touchdown passes went to Martellus Bennett. That won't happen again, but I'd feel safe starting both Bennett and Gronkowski. There's enough balls to go around for the tight ends in New England. You start Edelman. Deeper leagues, Chris Hogan, I'm not positive how many rosters he's on. Probably quite a few after last week. He got a little banged up and had a couple of long catches. So I roll out almost all my Patriots. I can't really think of one I'm worried about. And if there was one, it would probably be Hogan, only because I think you're going to see a bigger game from Edelman this week than he had last week. But like I said, this New England team and this New England offense is going to be too much for the Bengals. And again, we touched on the Bengals offense. The Bengals offense just looks out of sync. And I agree, they're going to go there and probably take a pretty good waxing by the New England Patriots.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I may look in that first quarter, but something tells me this is not going to go well for that Bengals offense and defensively, especially Marvin Lewis. I don't know how he's still coaching with the Bengals.
Yeah, well, at least this year, I don't think the fans are going to have to worry about the Bengals losing in the first round of the playoffs again, because I don't see that team making the playoffs this year. So yeah, I think the seats might be a little warm for Marvin Lewis by the end of this season.
I absolutely agree with that one. Fantasy Sharks Walton Spurlin to the program for those of you who are listening on the Shawn Stewart Show. Next one, the New York Giants and the Baltimore Ravens. Both teams are coming from a loss. The Giants, they lost to the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night, and the Baltimore Ravens lost to Washington. Now, with the New York Giants, I do have somebody from the New York Giants, Victor Cruz. He hasn't done well. He hasn't done jack so far this season. And by the way, the Ravens give up like 16 most fantasy points to wide receivers. And by the way, Baltimore did fire their offense coordinator, so that's not the first time they've done that. They did that 4 years ago, by the way. So those of you fresh remember. So I don't like this Giants team, especially with the offense, because okay, you have the couple of games it was Odell Beckham, and then Sunday night it was all on Eli Manning, because there were certain throws that Eli was supposed to make, but he just made some of the most idiotic throws that he's supposed not to do. And with his Ravens team, I thought was going to be surprising. Their offense, I don't know what's up with the Baltimore Ravens team. It seems like Joe Flacco's kind of upset, because Joe Flacco likes to throw the ball deep. He's not more of a he throws mid passes, but he doesn't like doing short passes. He's more of a deep thrower and a mid thrower. But so I just feel like this is going to be a tough one. Yeah,
you made a good point talking about the Giants' offense. Boy, I'm so disappointed in that offense. We knew they weren't going to have a great rushing attack, and then with Rashad Jennings going out, although he's supposed to be back this week, that's going to help. Just because the replacements they had were not getting it done. They lost Shane Vereen, who could catch the ball out of the backfield. But, yeah, Eli, 5 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions in 5 games. That's surprising. That's also the same amount of number of touchdowns and interceptions that Joe Flacco had. So, you have those two quarterbacks going against each other. Looks like Steve Smith won't play this week for Baltimore. And you made a good point, again, Shawn, about I look for them to attack the Giants vertically, with the deep ball, with Perryman and with Mike Wallace, who I think returned to limited practice this week. So it's like I keep waiting for Eli to have that breakout game, and I don't know that it's coming. It just seems to be a disconnect there. And I tell you what, quite a few of my expert leagues, I thought I was the smartest guy in the room by just waiting a while and getting Eli late and thinking I was covered just because of the past 2 seasons how good he looked, and now he's on the bench in most of my leagues until he shows me that he can do something this week. I'm starting Marcus Mariota over him in quite a few leagues because that was my duo, and it looks like Mariota kind of came out of his funk. But so you got to Odell Beckham. Again, like you said, with Victor Cruz, if you have another option, you might look there because, there's just not enough offense support, really, 2 to 3 fantasy wide receivers right now until the Giants can either get something worked out or we just move on. Even Sterling Shepard has a couple of down weeks, so it's just going to be. I would probably start Terrence West and Baltimore just because he's playing pretty well, and the Giants defense hasn't really all that money they paid. It looked early on like they were going to be a strong defensive unit, but now it's not looking that way. Jason Pierre-Paul may or may not play this week with a groin injury, so that's going to hurt the defense as well. I haven't looked to see what games are on in the area. This one, I'm kind of hoping this one isn't because neither one of these offenses excite me this week.
Actually, it won't. It will be the 4:05 game, the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind that one. This one, no. I wouldn't be all that thrilled to watch. Eli's been breaking my heart too many weeks in a row.
Exactly. And by the way, speaking of the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chiefs give up like the 7th most fantasy points in wide receivers. And the bad part about the Oakland Raiders is we know they got the offense, including Derek Carr as the quarterback, which is supposed to be their future quarterback, and maybe moving to Las Vegas, but that's another day, another time. And it's like both of these teams are not so well on defense, especially with the Oakland Raiders, because like both of these teams are like offense. So I expect the game to be like a offensive game between these two.
Yeah, this one could be a shootout. This one will be fun to watch. The Chiefs coming off a bye, so they've had 2 weeks to get ready. The Raiders are struggling against wide receivers as well. So I like Jeremy Maclin as a sneaky good play, and depending on who your quarterbacks are, maybe you drafted Jameis Winston to be your first. I think Alex Smith is going to have a sneaky good day.
That's who I have.
I like him this week. I actually put him in my start bench article at Fantasy Sharks as a starting option. He's, obviously again, division game, familiar with your opponent. You had 2 good games against them last year. You got Travis Kelce. Jamal Charles is healthier. He says he's ready to roll, full time, but the coaching staff, Spencer Ware's played well, so I don't think we're going to see like a 40-carry game from Jamal Charles, but he can do damage on a few carries. Sets up the play action. Well, and then you touch on the other side of the ball. Again, we don't touch the Raiders running back situation. Latavius Murray was hoping to crack this week, but he hasn't practiced this week, and it's still a split between Jalen Richards and I think DeAndre Washington. The other, anyway, you don't touch those guys. Derek Carr, you roll. Amari Cooper, big week last week. Michael Crabtree's just been consistently good this year. So I start Crabtree. I start, like I said, Amari Cooper if we got him. And, of course, Derek Carr. I'm showing my age. I'm confusing him with his brother. But, I think this one has the potential to be an exciting to watch. And, like we talked about, a shootout.
That's what I'm looking forward to. And there's a big game this Sunday, by the way. That is the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. As I said before, Green Bay Packers coming off the win against the Giants on Sunday night. And, of course, the Cowboys put a whooping on the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's the only team the Cowboys have ever won against a playoff team from last year. Now, here's what I'll say about this. The Green Bay Packers does do well when it comes stopping the run. But so far, Green Bay, when it comes to the passing, I'm a little bit worried, especially with Aaron Rodgers, because, we're not seeing the Aaron Rodgers like we're supposed to, and including him, Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCartney, apparently they're not getting along. So it should be, the Packers should win this game, but it appears to be like the Packers offense is going to struggle. But I'll say this, if the Packers can stop the Cowboys offense, then the Packers should win that game.
Yeah, and really for me, this game's interesting, and a lot hinges on the injury reports and some game time decisions, because Eddie Lacy left last week. He was looking good at 81 yards. He suffered an ankle injury, was unable to return, and so he's been practicing on a limited basis. But I just read before the show started that he said it's going to take right up to Sunday to know if he's going to be able to go. Des Bryant has returned to practice, so there's a chance that Dak Prescott gets that weapon. I like the Cowboys this week. they're committed to the run. They've got a great offensive line. They've got a great young running back. And again, what I like that does is it opens up play action. If they get Dez back, obviously you start him, because they're not going to roll him out there on a 15 snap count or something like that. Does play the full game. I'm a little disappointed in Jason Witten. He's yet to reach the end zone. He seems like more of a safety valve, a possession guy for Prescott. It gets in trouble. And if I got Dak Prescott, I would probably be rolling him out. Like I said, I just have a feeling, and you touched on the Packers, that offense stillness. Eddie Lacy's out. James Starks is away from the team right now. There was a death in his family, so he's expected to be back for the game, but he's not getting in the week of practice, and he was banged up last week a little bit too. So, yeah, I'd like to see, you're going to start Jordy Nelson, you're going to start Aaron Rodgers, probably in a little bit deeper leagues. Randall Cobb is your wide receiver 3 or a flex. Other than that, as I said, this should be an exciting game to watch. And again, I just have a feeling Cowboys could go in there and steal one.
Pray to God that will happen. Pray to God that will happen. And then finally, the Arizona Cardinals and New York Jets. And by the way, I'm disappointed with the Arizona Cardinals because I thought Arizona could have made a run in the NFC West, but apparently their offense not clicking, and so is you have to say this, Carson Palmer. Since Carson Palmer's not been playing well, I will give credit when they played against San Francisco, they did play a little bit better. So I expect that Arizona should beat the Jets. And by the way, this game is at Arizona, so this should be an easy win for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I completely agree, Shawn. Great minds think alike. And I think that this is a nice bounce-back week for Carson Palmer. Obviously, he missed last week with concussion. He's been cleared. He's been practicing. The New York Jets have given it up to quarterback. They've given up 12 touchdown passes. They've only intercepted 2 passes. Darrelle Revis is likely to miss this game, but he's not who he used to be, so we don't really even need to fear him. Teams have just been throwing it deep consistently and being successful against the Jets. John Brown has started to come on, after, he was slow in the first few weeks of the season. He's going to stretch that defense. That's going to open up things. I think he'll catch a couple of long passes, probably one for a touchdown. That opens up things underneath for the ageless wonder, Larry Fitzgerald. We love him. David Johnson just keeps getting it done. I like most of my Cardinals this week. Unfortunately for the Jets, Eric Decker just went on IR. He's going to need shoulder surgery. He was a touchdown machine. That means Patrick Peterson, and probably is going to get some help, is going to look to shut down Brandon Marshall. So if I have other options, and I love me some Brandon Marshall usually, but the Jets just don't have that many weapons. The Amish rifle, Fitzpatrick, he's been so erratic, throwing so many interceptions. Matt Forte has been seeing his touches decrease in each of the last 3 weeks. He's not involved in the passing game like he used to be in Chicago, as they have Bilal Powell. I'm nervous about my Jets. I'm excited about any Cardinals players I have, and I roll them out there because I said this Jets secondary just gets torched.
There was another game other than the Cowboys and Packers. There was another Fox game doubleheader. That was the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks. That was another game I was missing. Guys, like I said, I got to give credit for the Atlanta Falcons for controlling the NFC South. And here's the other thing with the Seattle Seahawks. Since this game is at Seattle, we know that when it comes to Seattle at home, we already know they're going to win. But the other thing is, you got to remember, too, Seattle's offense and defense is not the same as we thought, including Marshawn Lynch not playing anymore. So if I have somebody from Seattle, especially with the offense, I might want to look at it, be careful, and I also want to be careful with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I think if you have Russell Wilson, you probably drafted him high. I would start him this week because this is 2 tough road games in a row for Atlanta. Right? They were at they were at Denver last week and now at Seattle. They surprisingly they beat the Broncos very surprisingly. But I like Russell Wilson. Christine Michael's been getting done, so he's the workhorse back. He's kind of picked up. He's the Lynch for them now with Thomas Rawls hurt. He's going to get plenty of touches. The guy I really love is Jimmy Graham. He's had over 100-yard receiving yards. They're coming off a bye, but the 2 previous weeks before that, he had 100 yards in each game and a touchdown in one of them. They're finally starting to use Jimmy Graham to get those mismatches down the seam and use him in the red zone. So I like that. Atlanta, yeah, Matt Ryan, top fantasy quarterback right now. And the thing is he has such great pass catching. Well, first of all, Julio Jones, one of the best wide receivers in the league, but both of those running backs, and surprisingly, it's Tevin Coleman who's become more of the receiving running back. Again, like I said, last week he put up over 130 yards receiving, and Devonta Freeman put up 80 yards rushing. So this is going to be an interesting and fun game to watch, and we're going to find out a lot more about the Falcons. If they put up another game like they did last week, then look out, they're for real, and that's bad news for the Carolina Panthers.
Exactly, and by the way, like I said, Carolina Panthers are like the most disappointing team I ever saw, including the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, 1-4 start. We're way behind the 8 ball now. I know you get Cam Newton back this week, but it might be too late, especially, like I said, if the Falcons keep it going.
Right. Fantasy Sharks Walton Spurlin to the program. Now, where can my listeners find you on social media, and you also do a show after my show on Thursday night?
Yes, I do. In just about 15 minutes, I will be co-hosting the Fantasy Football Feeding Frenzy on Blog Talk Sports Radio with Mr. Gary Davenport and Mr. Todd Lasky. And I have four weekly articles. Wally's World comes out on Mondays. I just look at Sunday's games and just throw out some random thoughts I have on that. I have a Start Bench article comes out every Wednesday at FantasySharks.com. I have an IDP article that comes out every Thursday on the premium side of Fantasy Sharks. And then every Friday morning, I have a bargain daily fantasy defenses you can use that week. So you can go out and spend your money on other high-profile offensive players and win that loot from the daily fantasy. So, and I'm Walton Spurlin on Twitter and Walton Spurlin on Facebook.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, those Fantasy Sharks, Walton Spurlin to the program. Thank you so very much, and I will have you on next week.
Look forward to it. Have a great week, Shawn.
You too. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Fantasy Sharks, Walton Spurlin to the program. So, like I said, we're going to keep on rolling. It is 48 minutes past the hour, and right now, so speaking of that, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, number for the show is 954-246-0398. It is 954-246-0398. Right now, it will be hosted K-Side Smithy Rachel to the program with the MMA news, and then after that is sports handicapper Rafael Esparza. So, by the way, you know what? Matter of fact, I think we should take a break. Yeah, you know what? We should take a break. So, when we come back after the commercial break, I will have hosted K-Side Smithy Rachel with your MMA news. So, please stick around.